Ask a believer to make a defense for their faith. There's a lot of times they're left speechless, sometimes spending years identifying as a Christian, going to church, but they cannot make a case for their own faith. They cannot even explain the gospel in the simplest of terms. They'll say, well, you need a preacher for that. Preachers aren't going to save anybody on Judgment Day. You're not going to stand before God and, Pastor Josh is going to come up and stand before me. He's got a few things he wants to say. Here's the deal, God. I know Bob doesn't know you. I know he doesn't even know the simplistic terms of the gospel, but he showed up every week. He took the offering. He was a nice guy. He even wore a tie. He cleaned the bathrooms every now and again, so I think you should let him in based on those merits. It doesn't work like that. Pastors are not mediators. At the end of the day, you don't need a preacher to explain the gospel. Preachers aren't going to save anyone on Judgment Day. You need to know it yourself. How can you believe in something that you don't know? I recently was listening to a sermon. I heard the pastor say, I'm not very good with this theology and this Bible stuff. And then he went on to talk for 35 minutes about the Bible. I mean, what profession do we allow people to get away with that? Well, welcome to the Brake Pad Conference. I know absolutely nothing about brake pads, but I'm going to stand up here for 35 minutes and tell you about brake pads. Walk out, right? So we sit in rooms where pastors say, I'm not really a Bible expert, but let me talk for the next 35 and share a bunch of stories and then tell you that Jesus loves everyone. And we're satisfied with that? What industry gets away with that? This is the mentality I grew up. It started in the 90s. A church needs a cool youth pastor. So we elevate the 20-year-old young man who has no clue what they're doing. They couldn't exegete a blank piece of paper, more or less a Bible verse, all because he wears a hat backwards, has a fish tattoo, and knows how to put on pizza parties and run lock-ins. We rush our kids into these groups with no idea what they're actually being taught. They come out with stickers and prizes full of pizza and gas. They had a lot of fun and it was cool. All the while they have no clue what's being taught. Our kids enjoy it. That's all that matters. They run off to college and surprise, when they started dealing with their faith on their own, they apostatized. They ran away from the gospel. Quick to hear, slow to speak. That doesn't mean you can't ask questions. That doesn't mean you can't share your testimony. That doesn't mean you can't walk through a study and talk about the Bible with someone. It means before you go talking on behalf of God in His words, explaining in a teacher-pupil situation, you must have spent time intently listening to it first, lest you be tempted to lure yourself and others away with a narcissistic false theology that will damn the soul.